Okay, hello everyone. So I just want to welcome everyone to the session. Um, we have today with us Ayanda Freund-Ndlovu. She's going to take us through a career in becoming a Scrum Master. She started out as a teacher, so I believe this is really an exciting and interesting career path that she's going to explain and go through. Just some background on these sessions. It's called Campus2Career. So what we usually do is we get different subject matter experts for different industries, and we ask them to give us an overview or an interactive discussion about how do you get there, because we know that not every career path is the same. It's not like you get a script beforehand. So this is really why these discussions are important. And thank you so much, Ayanda, for being here today. So I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you. I'll be back with you guys shortly and sharing my screen. I'm sharing my camera. Evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. And I hope this session will be one that inspires you to become a Scrum Master, but also to know that whatever skills you already have are the foundation for anything that you'd like to achieve. We know that, during our years, through growth, through experience, through learning, our interests and our interests change. And with that comes different expectations and different things that we would like to explore. And today I'd like to share more with you about the Scrum Master role. So, hi, I am Ayanda, and I'm currently a Scrum Master. I wasn't always a Scrum Master. I started out from teaching and made my way into a exciting, often stressful, but learning filled environment that gave me many, many opportunities for where I am now. So we can start. Right. Uh, we've all been in meetings where, and please put up if your hand if any of these have been applicable to you at any point. You've been in a meeting and been left with more questions than answers. You've left the meeting feeling frustrated, felt like it had no point, feeling drained, often wondering why you skipped lunch for this. I know how frustrating those meetings can be. You often ask yourself, could it have been an email? Why wasn't it an email? And these feelings and questions are the very reason why teams can benefit from having a Scrum Master. So today we'll explore the solution. Me, a Scrum Master. We explore the Scrum Master role and what they do and how we can make the change to become an extraordinary Scrum Master. So now I will tell you a little bit about myself. I started out as a teacher, and I currently have over 5 years experience as a Scrum Master. I am completely passionate about people, teams, and creating environments where there's clarity, understanding, and empathy. A Scrum Master is more than someone that just makes a meeting make sense, but is an integral team member that intentionally and consistently fosters an environment rooted in transparency, respect, focus, with continuous inspection and adaptation of the ways of working and yourself as a team member. I was not always a Scrum Master. I have a Bachelor of Education in Foundation phase, and it's those very skills that led me to this path on a wonderful and inspirational work. So let's explore a little bit of that today. Next, we will look at the myths surrounding being a Scrum Master. So a Scrum Master is not And these myths that I've listed now are significant because the skills needed to collaborate with teams and individuals often differ. So a Scrum Master is not a manager, but a facilitator. A Scrum Master is not a boss, but a coach. A Scrum Master is not a person who just tracks tasks, but is a problem solver. On to the next slide. A Scrum Master is also not a project manager in the sense that they remove blockers, protect the team, and create a safe working environment. A Scrum Master does not need a technical background. Whatever skills that you have can be used in the Scrum Master role because it's fundamentally about people and about communication. Scrum is not only used in software teams, it's used in HR, finance, legal, marketing, and much more. This role has evolved to many different areas and industries based on its importance, I believe. Okay, so the big question, what does a Scrum Master do? In essence, a lot. This often happens behind the scenes and can go unnoticed. The reward as a Scrum Master lies in the cohesive, value-driven teams. Serving the role as a Scrum Master, and the key role here, the key role here is of a servant leader. A servant leader is someone that serves the needs of others rather than controlling them, based in an environment of empathy and openness. I don't know if we would like to pause here for any questions that would be in the chat. Are there any questions in the chat? All right. Next, we will look at how to become a Scrum Master. Apologies. We now know what a Scrum Master does, and now we will look at how to become a Scrum Master. Believe it or not, you are more ready than you think. Your degree is the foundation of greatness. Though it may not be in IT or even project management, the skills that you have acquired will enable you to fulfill this role. Your degree is a testament to yourself and future employers that you have 1, grit, academic skills, discipline, and the ability to learn. Now that we have established that this career path may be for you, let's explore how that path looks. From about 1 year, you are a junior Scrum Master. So this is your entry point to the excitement. And during this year, I would advise having a mentor, someone within a company or someone that isn't, but someone that walks the road with you and navigates the many nuances of being a Scrum Master. Because being a Scrum Master, you have your set roles in terms of processes and in terms of how things are done, and as well as how the company may run itself. But there are other nuances that happen in the background that are not always something that someone that hasn't been in those shoes can explain to you. So having a mentor is advised. This will give you an opportunity to learn and understand the value of Scrum ceremonies, becoming comfortable with facilitating stand-ups, plannings, and retrospectives. But most importantly, during this year is an opportunity to learn, observe, and make mistakes in your role that will carry you forward in becoming a better Scrum Master and also helping you to build confidence in presenting yourself to people, in working with people, and building who you are as a Scrum Master, which is very important in how the team then succeeds, responds to you, and the success of the company at the end of the day. Moving on. In about 1 to 3 years, you can call yourself a Scrum Master. During these years, you will work independently, supporting 2 or more teams, begin to engage more with the organizational dynamics, with stakeholders, learning and figuring out risk management, figuring out scope creep, and maybe even have the opportunity to coach in an agile environment. In about 4 to 5 years from there, you will have more exposure to the greater organization. You can then begin mentoring others if you are confident to do so. You can become a strategic partner within the teams and organizations where you may begin discussions with senior leadership, um, greater exposure to the rest of the company. So if you are IT based, then perhaps you can learn more about what's happening in the finance side or the marketing side, or the nuances of the higher ups in the company and how you can help facilitate the Scrum and Agile from that sense. But in all these stages, you become more confident and more yourself in your role, that you become something that, you feel that you can make a difference and bring value, not only to the teams, but also to the company at large. 5 years on, which is about where I am and where I have toyed with going and thinking, okay, do I continue being a Scrum Master, or do I move out and branch out into the various roles that I'm going to share with you now? One of the things to note about making the change at this point of your career is that none of these are a promotion, but rather a direction of where you thrive best, because each of these require different skills and different parts of the business that you will work on. First, I will tell you about an agile coach. So agile coaches work across multiple teams and organizations. You would typically call on an agile coach for cultural and transformations within an organization. So they are the expert voice that is brought in by companies to assist in the adoption of agile and agile practices. Okay, moving on to a release train engineer. Release train engineers require another certification that is part of the scaled agile framework, SAFe. This is more common in larger organizations that typically have bigger teams that work with different functions across the organization. With this role, there comes more accountability in what you are doing. And another one I've added here is head of agile or head of transformation. So this would be it's a leadership and executive adjacent role. So not quite a leader or not quite in an executive position, because you don't make decisions, but you facilitate them. So at this point, you would become more aware of your own practices, the tools that are used, and the standards being set within an organization, overseeing a team of Scrum Masters and possibly Agile coaches. When I say this comes with a little bit more accountability and leadership and in an executive space, you would typically report to a CTO or a COO or a CEO. Okay. And on this slide that's currently showing here, I've also included what certifications you may need. So for an agile coach, an agile coaching certificate, for a release train engineer, SAFe, they're currently on SAFe 6.0. And with the head of agile, it's mainly based on the experience that you have. Okay, can move on to the next.
I see
Yes,
there is a hand. So I'm just
Sure.
going to unmute the participant. Okay. Tato, do you have a question for Ayanda?
Hi, Tato.
Hi guys, nothing from me at the moment, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Tato.
Okay, no problem.
I will continue. Right. So with everything said and done, the biggest ally in this role is networking. Networking is key and allows you for the space to learn from others, share with others, and gain knowledge and ideas. We get to help and encourage each other in a safe environment. I have added their logo for a company called Suxa, which is the Scrum User Group South Africa. They are an expert voice in the industry. They hold multiple sessions where Scrum Masters, coaches, and people aspiring to be Scrum Masters gather. So they have monthly lean coffee sessions, monthly meetups at various locations, and interestingly enough, at various locations where you would typically be hired as a Scrum Master. So IQ Business, Think Agile, and a number of other companies that would be a great place to start if this is what you were looking for. Bonus, these are free and open to the public. And there are also coaching circles that you can join for a little bit more intimate conversations that you could have with questions in sessions. They do offer coaching circles as well. Okay. So lastly, remember that you are more ready than you know. You have the skills to move into any environment that you'd like to, or start any career. If you have the passion, if you have the will and the discipline in making the change, your battle's already won. It's about gaining more skills, building your confidence, and seeing where it can take you, taking that first step and having the courage, and remembering that you are built for this. You are built for whatever it is that you have passion for and see the world to carry on and pursue. So always remember, you are ready, and you are more ready than you know. Thank you. I don't know if there are any questions. We can move to questions and answers, and I will do my best to give you advice in that space. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to. Okay, Jessica, I've allowed your mic, so if you have a question, you're welcome to ask.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi. Hi, Ayanda. Thank you so much for the presentation. Quick question, because I am not in South Africa, but I have plans of possibly relocating there. So I'm kind of interested, do you have any suggestions as far as any virtual meetups as far as Scrum Master meetings go?
Jessica, the Suxa group do have online meetups as well. If you look on the site and if you join their Slack team, you should have access to their virtual space as well. Have a look at LinkedIn. If you follow them on LinkedIn, they are constantly virtual sessions that they have. So they do have in Joburg and in Cape Town, but you would be able to join them virtually. And they also have in person as well. So when you get here, you can join.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Tato, your mic is enabled, so if you have a question, you're welcome to ask.
I just wanted to add on to the previous lady's question with regards to when they have sessions. So on the Meetup app, that's actually where I usually get a lot of the communication with regards to what Shuksa is doing with anything regarding Agile and Scrum. So I think the app is called Meetup, and then she can just find their information on that.
Yes, thank you, Tato. That is correct. Anything else?
I think while we give people some time to think if they have any questions, I would like to ask on behalf of maybe some of the participants who haven't, interacted a lot in the IT space. Can you maybe give a broad overview of the day in a life of a Scrum Master?
Okay, sure, we can try. What I can say is the days vary. They vary based on where you are in a project. They vary based on the demands from the stakeholders. They vary based on the product. So a day is very typical, is very typically, like, it's different. That, I think, is the one thing I can say is that your days are never the same. There are constant challenges that do come up that you have to problem solve for, be it a system crashing, be it scope creep or changes from what the client is looking for. Those changes happen daily. It's very difficult to pinpoint and say, okay, this is what you would do every day. But if I had to give you a basis on what you would do, stand-ups are a fundamental feature of your day. Typically, the team would decide when they want to have stand-ups, whether it be in the morning, midday, or in the afternoon. It also depends on where everybody's situated. If you have multiple locations, you'd find a time that the team agrees on to do that. So daily is your stand-up. It's your 15-minute, I don't want to call it a status update because it's not that, but where you communicate what you have done, what you need to do, and if there are any blockers, and if there's anybody that can help you with that, or anyone that has the skills to unblock those. You will typically work on it as a team, or as a Scrum Master, you facilitate the completion of those risks that may come up. So I can give you one as an example. We got to a point in a project where we needed to do testing, and we did not have any testing devices. Typically, this would be something that you would plan for at the beginning of the project, but this one went a little bit off track and we did not have the testing devices. So while the team still developed, I then went to our stakeholders and our managers to find out how we can get devices, what our options are in simulating testing while we are waiting for the devices, in order not to hinder the progress of the project and hinder the progression that we had made in terms of the development that had already been done. Typically, you would do it in sprints. So we would plan for that. So call it, let's say we found out this problem in sprint 5, and you would then plan for the solution for sprint 6, and then go through that iterative process where you see a problem, plan for the problem solve, and go again while still making progress in your project goal. So when I say that there are, and thank you, Gazani, for the question, when I say that there are other nuances to the role, these are the types of things that I mean. Things crop up all the time, and as I'm talking to you, I'm thinking of other and remembering other examples that come up and create fun but havoc to your day and to the project, that you then have to find a solution for and be ready to tackle anything that comes your way. But going back to your question, Guzani, the standard would be in a day is your stand up, and you plan your day really from there. If a problem comes up, if there's something you've learned through your development that maybe an idea was brought to you and the team cannot deliver or develop on that idea, take that back to the stakeholders and back to the client, and you begin the process again. So it is very iterative, it's very busy, it's fun, and keeps you on your toes all the time. So you have to be ready for anything.
Awesome. So I can see it's a lot of problem solving, a lot of analytical skills, a lot of facilitation as well. So let's say a graduate sees that, you know, they feel like they can do this, they have these skills and they have an interest in this field. What do you say would be the place where they need to start to move into this industry?
As I mentioned before, I would say SUCSA is probably one of the best places to go. From there, you'll learn and meet many people across the board and learn about the tools that are needed. Learn about where you need to go. So SUCSA is undeniably, that is where I started. I started with SUCSA, and from there just grew my network. My facilitator for my certification, so for the Certified Scrum Master certification, was part of SUCSA at the time, and we have subsequently kept up our working relationship, and she's now part of my network. So that was back in 2018, 2019. So you build your network there. It's a great starting point, and that's why it's the only company that I actually put in my slide. There are others, but this is a great entrance into getting to know everybody else as well.
Okay, great. And I see there's another question. How do you ensure that retrospectives lead to real actionable improvements rather than becoming routine discussions?
Okay, I'm going to apologize up front for sounding like I'm not answering the question, but I am. So in order to have retrospectives that bring value, you also need to build trust within your team. The team needs to trust you and know that whatever issues or challenges that may come up in retrospective, you will be able to follow up on, and that there will be action on. Sometimes you can fall into the loop of having, I'm just trying to think of a really great example to give you. In terms of retrospectives, where an issue comes up and it comes up over and over and over again and becomes a hindrance to the team. But if you're not doing anything about it as a Scrum Master, or not seen to be doing anything about it as a Scrum Master to the team, you are then not bringing value to the team. So it's all about trust. I, as a Scrum Master, leverage on the skills of the people that I am working with. So if I know, for instance, Tato is really good at mobile development, and I'll use the example I mentioned before, we didn't have any test data. I would go to Tato and I'd say, okay, Tato, is there a way to simulate this with a mobile app in a web environment? How do we go about doing that? So that the team is also involved in the solution of the challenge that we're facing, then bringing more value into it, as opposed to just running with it yourself, and then you just become a tick boxer for every solution that comes and happens.
Okay, that's awesome. So getting that buy-in from the team is integral to solving the problem.
100%. The
Okay.
buy-in and the foundation of trust with your team, that they know that they can come to you with something, you trust them to have the answer, and they can trust you to run with it and solve it with the rest of the team and the client.
Yeah, and that fits in so well with the following question. How do you navigate difficult conversations with leadership and techniques for building team trust?
Sure. Difficult conversations happen all the time. And again, I think it's how you position yourself in the company and the trust that the people have with you, how you approach the people, I think is really key. Trust is the foundation for everything that I do as a Scrum Master, and being able to approach people in a manner that comes from not a place of criticism, but a place of support, and a place where you have their best interest as well as the progression of the project's interest at heart. That foundation then sets the tone for difficult conversations, because it's a conversation. It's then not a criticism or something where that is a finger pointing exercise. It's a conversation. It's not always easy to achieve that, and things do get messy. But the one thing to keep in mind is that we are dealing with people, and people come with their own challenges, their own baggage that they carry in certain situations, and getting to know the people as well is a key in how you can approach those challenging conversations. If you know that, for instance, I'm not sure who asked the question. I'll say, for example, Fatima does not, respond well to shouting, or would maybe prefer an email or a coffee to outline the situation, then that's what you would do. So finding ways to have those conversations, but in a efficient and beneficial way for everyone. And there was another part to that question, if you can just remind me.
Yeah, I think that was the full question. So to navigate difficult conversations with leadership techniques for building team trust. So I believe, the way you deal with difficult situation plays into the trust with the team.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Does anyone else have questions? Tato, I'm not sure if this is a hand you raised earlier, or is it a new hand?
I think it's the hand I had raised earlier.
Okay, no problem. Okay, if there's any other questions, guys, you can put it either in the chat or you can raise your hand.
I think that's a new hand.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask, can you give us like an example of some of the apps or tools that they use specifically to be able to kind of problem solve for certain things? Because I think that's one of the main things that I found. There are a lot of tools to be able to help you, but it makes no sense as somebody who's looking in from outside and hasn't been in a space that that uses any of those devices or tools or has any familiarity with some of those things.
Okay. Tato, I think that was. So the tools that I used are mainly navigated and driven by the company. So, for example, you'll have companies that will use Jira. You'll have companies that will use I'm just trying to think. So that are mainly based within Microsoft and Microsoft apps. You'll have companies that use a combination of things. So those are things that are really driven by the company. Some use Azure DevOps, some use Jira, some use I'm just trying to think of the one. I can see the logo in my mind, but it's completely gone. But yes, the apps and tools are largely driven by the company. As a Scrum Master, you can use different tools and navigations for specific problems. So for retrospectives, I'd like to use AHA slides, for example, because it just brings something different to each retrospective, because you would be meeting twice in a month, essentially. So just to keep it fun and fresh, I use different kinds of apps. So the apps that you can choose from are absolutely endless. It depends on what you are trying to solve for, and largely driven by the company. I hope that answers your question. But if you have any further question or I didn't answer it for you, please reach out to me or reach out to Gozani and get my details, and I will endeavor to answer your question fully. I see there's something in the chat.
Yes, so the question is, what additional challenges arise when facilitating Scrum in a remote or hybrid environment, and how can it be mitigated effectively?
Good question. Lots of challenges. Just now, actually, before we started this call, I had the challenge of not being able to share my screen effectively. So Gozani then offered to share my slides for me, which threw me off a little bit, but it's a challenge nonetheless, and we had continued with the session. So remote and hybrid bring different challenges, technological challenges, challenges of people maybe not engaging as well on the call. So your facilitation skills play a major role in that environment. So you would have interactive maybe questions or games, or lots of pausing points and asking people questions about their experience, bringing them in and drawing them into the conversation at the time. So remote does bring its own challenges and requires a little bit more of a push, because it's very easy to hide behind the camera with your camera off and being on mute. So it does require a little bit of extra nudging in remote situations. How that can be mitigated is coming prepared always, having backups in terms of tools or questions that you might use. You can use an icebreaker at the beginning of the session that will allow people to get to know each other and feel a little bit more comfortable with what is happening in that moment in time, as well as setting the scene and setting the stage for what you are going to be discussing that day. Sharing an agenda, for instance, sticking to an agenda, time boxing, and not going over time in your specific activity at that specific activity. There's nothing worse than, you're on an online session and you've booked back to back and now your session is running over. So just little things like that in your skills of facilitation that build as you go along will help mitigate any challenges that arise in a hybrid and remote setting.
Okay, and then I see there's a question, what changes within the company have you been involved with?
If you can elaborate on changes, there's lots and lots of changes that can happen, but I'll give an example. So a lot of changes come with processes, because the company also has to think about their bottom line and return on investments at the end of the day. So lots of process changes. For instance, one of the last companies I was with, we used Azure, and the process change was that, okay, we're moving away from that to something else. And with that comes different reporting, understanding the tool, navigating the tool, getting familiar with the tool so that you are comfortable and confident to use it in facilitation, in your reporting. That is one of the constant changes that do come up. If I have to give one that's involved in all companies, lots of process changes, team dynamic changes. So with the team dynamic changes comes skills knowledge changes. When you say changes, there are many. Those are just some of the examples that I could come up with in this moment, but there are quite a few. I don't know if Farida would like to elaborate further on the question and if I had answered her question.
I see there is typing.
Okay. Just to caveat everything that I have said, a lot of the things I share today can be their own workshop. In that there is a lot of information that can be shared and can go further in depth, just to cover that topic in its fullness. So this was really just a skim, like top of the skimming a lot of the information that can be shared. So I apologize if it does feel like I'm not answering your question, so that there is a lot. We're just the tip of the iceberg here. There's a lot further down that can be unpacked. And maybe if we're allowed, we can do another session on a topic that is something that has come up quite often in here, or with further investigation, anything else that anyone would like to know. But there is a lot. This is really just the top of the iceberg.
And I think that resource you shared from SUCSA is very nice. I think it's a very good starting point. I've also put the link to that in the chat. So if anyone is interested to explore it further, you can go to the link in the chat. I think that is a really amazing way to start to venture into this after listening to your introduction and all of your advice in this industry.
SUCSA is definitely a great one, Gozani, because from there you can see the trends in terms of salary. They have it blocked out by province, years of experience, males, females. It's really a really great starting point in terms of information or any question that you may have regarding the role and future expectations around it.
Awesome. So I think we're going to close off. I just want to thank you, Ayanda, for joining us. Thank you for all of your advice and your excellent presentation on this subject. We really do appreciate it. Don't know if you have any closing thoughts.
You are more capable than you know. Starting out something new is always difficult, but remembering why you want to make the change is also important, and not forgetting where you've come from. Taking those lessons into your next chapter, into your next project, into your next phase of life is always important. And go forth and do the best that you can and enjoy it. I think that's another point that I'd like to make, is enjoy it. Change is hard, but it can also be fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayanda. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I hope you enjoyed this session. I certainly did.